Before we delve into the matter of how I learned to stop worrying and hope this bombs, I want to talk to Cineworld Cinemas about their new super screens. Essentially, it's just a bigger screen than normal, which sounded good on paper, but when I got there, I realised I had to sit approximately 3 miles away from the screen in order to avoid craning my neck at the angle I usually reserve for conversing with my older brothers. Oh, and did I mention that it cost me an extra 50% of the usual ticket price? Yeah, normally it would be just over £6 sterling, but in order to sit in a screen with even more people that could annoy me, I had to pay more than £9. First world problems, man. Anyway, forget everything you think you know is a sort of tagline to Doctor Strange, and it's an apt one because you'll have to forget a lot of movies you've seen before in order to enjoy this one. Specifically Iron Man and Inception. Does anyone remember how good Inception was? I feel like it's been mostly forgotten beyond the whole Inception blah thing, which you can hardly be blamed for. Seriously though, the movie has it all: exciting action, incredible stunts, engaging characters, and I feel it deserves a more momentous place in history than it currently has. Anyway, getting back on track. Every time I hear the title Doctor Strange, I always think of Doctor Strangelove, hence, the joke in the first line in case you missed that. So I went back and watched it the other day in order to tick off another movie from my guilty about having not watched this list. What I discovered was a hilarious yet thought-provoking satire of the weapons race. It's genuinely rare that I check out an old classic and discover that I love it enough to think it deserves the appraisal it has. That's me recommending that you find a way to watch Doctor Strangelove, by the way, because it'll be cheaper and significantly more enjoyable than seeing the latest Marvel film in theatres. And now I guess we've made it to the review. You know, the thing you were looking for when you clicked onto this page. Just one more thing though. Did you hear about Deadpool 2 losing its director? Yeah, Tim Miller, who directed the first film, has left the project due to creative differences with Ryan Reynolds, the movie's lead actor. In response to them arguing, the studio, 20th century idiots, decided to go with the actor and let the director go. It's typical, isn't it? Does Hollywood side with the guy who dictates the quality of the product and has proven he knows what he's doing, or does it side with the actor who is weighing in a matter miles out of his field? Obviously they go with the marketable face of the project and don't just tell Reynolds to shut his gob. Yes, there's definitely more to this story than we currently know, but it still irritates me that studios show so little respect to the artists they hire. Sorry, I can't seem to stay on topic this week. It's almost like Doctor Strange was a completely bland, forgettable and by-the-numbers movie with virtually no redeeming qualities. Oh, yeah. First of all, I want to pettily moan about the fact that this movie cast Benedict Cumberbatch, Tilda Swinton and Chiwetel Ejiofor, 3 beloved British actors, and made them put on American accents. Perhaps it's not the most damning criticism the world has ever seen, but regardless of how well they pulled the accents off, it annoys me that we couldn't either get different actors or just let them keep the accents. Maybe they were afraid of the massive fan base that the pop culture icon Doctor Strange has built up over the many years he's had as a best-selling comic book property. If you're looking for an actual diagnosis of what killed Doctor Strange, the most obvious one is that it's a very action-heavy film, but the action scenes weren't even close to being exciting enough to distract me from the struggle of getting my Pringles out of the bottom of their can. Yeah, the action's just crap. Admittedly, the special effects are quite mesmerising at first, but within about 30 seconds you realise that despite all this crazy magic malarkey, every fight still just comes down to a fist fight, except maybe one person is holding a glowing shield or a weird glass sword thing. Even when 2 spirit forms fight it out, they just throw each other across a room repeatedly. Also, all that mind-bendy stuff that people keep banging on about and keep using to convince you that it's totally worth forking out the extra £100 to see it in IMAP is just that one bit from Inception mixed with a simple maths pattern and used over and over and over and over and over as if it's in some kind of time loop. Maybe I could forgive that if the choreography wasn't terrible, or if the editing didn't alternate between hiding said choreography and hiding the dodgy CGI. Perhaps I'd be okay with it if there were any rules about this magic and thus some actual stakes and tension. I could possibly live with that if our main character had any depth to him and wasn't suddenly crowned the most powerful person in the universe halfway through the film. Perchance I wouldn't begrudge the film all of this if the 2 villains weren't a giant floating head that does nothing and some idiot who wants that demonic head to own the universe. Sure, Mads Mikkelsen's character, whose name I couldn't tell you, has hints towards a very compelling backstory, and Baron Mordo, Chiwetel Ejiofor's character, is given a similarly interesting arc which gets relegated to the background in favour of our titular hero doing not much at all. To make up for the lack of any interesting story beats or characters, the film emphasises the trippy visuals as much as it possibly can, powering through the origin story faster than I ploughed through my 3 tubs of Pringles. Don't judge me. Thus, we meet the origin paradox, in that we need the origin of a character developed in order for a hero to be interesting, but said origin part is often the least interesting bit of his story. Good movies like Iron Man, Spider-Man and Batman Begins all make the origin interesting, but recently people have started complaining about how the origin stories are boring, so Doctor Strange just cuts it out completely. Sadly, it doesn't apply the same desire for cutting to its script. Everything is explained with dialogue. Every character is established to us with dialogue, and every bit of exposition is conveyed twice. Via dialogue. There's a particularly egregious moment where an apple is shown to decompose and then recompose in order to display a time mechanic. Not once, not twice, thrice. It's perfectly easy to understand what happens after the first demonstration, and yet it loops itself like one of those annoying "wait for it" gifs on Facebook. In truth though, there is a clever use of time at the climax which I enjoyed because it was a break from the half-hour action scene that jumped between almost incomprehensible and completely incomprehensible, like Mario on shrooms. That is, a different kind of shrooms than is regular. But you know what's really crazy about Doctor Strange? It's not that bad. Oh, it's pretty bad, and I didn't much enjoy it at all. But what I found to be more insane than the production line "this is insane" visuals is that it's never boring. And that's thanks to the cast. Mr. Cumberbatch injects enough charisma into his role to make it watchable, if not especially engaging thanks to the writing, and everyone else is decent, except for Rachel McAdams. Not necessarily because she's a bad actress, but because she's handed the most disposable, cliched and underdeveloped character in this whole franchise. And yes, that's including the guy in the Avengers whose superpower is a weapon from the Stone Age. In short, it's really not worth seeing, it has nothing special to offer, and it's the most stale I've found any Marvel film to date. Perhaps because the humour in these things gets equal parts worse and more predictable with every new film. It's probably too late in the life of the Marvel Universe to convince anyone not to go and see this, as it's sort of just the essential thing to do for anyone who's into films because this franchise is so big. But if you're on the fence for whatever reason, I'd say it's really not worth your money. Again, just watch Doctor Strangelove if you can, or Inception, or Iron Man. This is just uninspired painting by the numbers, and no amount of acting prowess or LSD can make it worth real money, no matter how big the screen is. Yes, I'm still bitter about paying extra for my ticket. Shut up.